Welcome to the Sean Trey Show. I've got a really interesting guest with me today. Now, would you like to tell people who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Roy Arwas, filmmaker first, storyteller. Let's try again. Sorry. I'm Roy Arwas. I'm storyteller first. Started in filmmaking, went into advertising, and currently am a creative director at Netflix Awards, as well as run Creative X Entertainment, mine and my partner's company that deals with telling the stories for brands through digital solutions, be it creating websites, content, production, anything and everything visual in the digital world.
That's really cool. One of the things that, we live in a world where everything is about image. Like for every single brand, everything out there. And it's not just, brands used to be able to get by with a good photo.
Yep.
Good stills, a good logo. And that was what a brand needed, and the rest of the time it was just fancy icing on the top. But now there's just this constant message that has to be, it's just not just buy our product. It's like this constant education of the brand's
story.
Of the story, of who they are and what they stand for, because it's really a big deal now.
Yeah.
Now, how do you approach that?
Well, regarding telling the stories of any brand we work with, be it a Fortune 500 or a startup, we always go about it the very, very, very exact way, and that is figuring out what their story is. And if they can't figure it out yet, which tends to be the startup world, we just sit with them and just listen to them for a while, and then we write a story on it, just like we make movies. It's in a movie, you're like, I want to tell a story about a guy who simply can't make it out of town. And so that's the story. Let's find his troubles. Let's find the solution that he needs, and then tell a story to create an arc. Whereas with brands, we don't want the arc to end. And so we wanted to find their story, tell their story in the right and more engaging way. And then eventually, when getting those audiences, how do we keep the story moving to always engage them, to come back and to keep it forward? Obviously, we could look at use cases, but I think just the nature of it is very much like making a movie. It's find the story, plan for the story, execute the story, and deliver the story, and then repeat. And that is very much how we like to go about it with brands and our films.
It's really awesome because people don't always think about that. But within the film industry, there's a lot of different areas, and it's getting way more diverse now because adding, the ways that we can tell stories. You have long form, you know what I mean? Your typical movie, and now we've got really long form, which would be some of these long miniseries, Game of Thrones or things like that. That's these epic size stories. But then you get shorter, you get your television commercials, and then, or not television, TV TV shows that are 45 minutes. You got your shorter shows, and then we moved into the world of YouTube, which was even shorter storytelling. But now with TikTok, it's quick. How do you do a quick video like that?
You gotta have a really good story, and it's always gonna come down to that. How do we tell a story of a feature film in 15 seconds in social, right? It's let's find the keywords that hint you in. It's I've always loved you. That's a thing people want to hear. Show a bunch of shots that are relevant to I've always loved you, and then you got the people to go to watch the film and be like, oh, I want to watch a love story. If it's a horror film, it's where am I? You don't know who you are, and then you have a bunch of shots, and then that's your story, right? It's always finding that one-liner. Yeah. And when it goes to brands, it's finding the one-liners in their long content. Typically, the best TikTok content is more user-generated, so you wouldn't want to, create a commercial for 15 seconds on TikTok at least, because those tend to be more produced, and TikTok loves the organic stuff. Therefore, when you have a person looking at camera, it's far more engaging, it's more personal, and you want it to feel like a FaceTime call when you do TikTok videos, at least. But when you do 50-second bumpers for TV, that's when the best shots and the best story. And I have the best, I think a good example of it is
I'd love to hear it.
Regarding telling someone's talent or story, it's when you get an editor reel that is edited but but that is edited, all you're seeing is a DP reel. When you see a director's reel and it's edited, all you're seeing is a DP reel. And it's always hard to like tell a good story without letting people sit in it. And I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but bottom line is to keep a 15-second story moving is to always keep it fresh and unpredictable. It would have to be you asking me an example, and then I could give you one. But every yeah.
I came from the world of acting. Like that was my entrance into film and cinema. I got started as an actor, and then I moved behind the camera, and I've done way more behind the camera than I have in front. But one of the interesting things for me was like, you know, when you're, you know, a young actor starting out and like you want to put down and create a show reel, like how do you take, you know, these long performances and go, what's the essence that I can what do I capture to give someone, because a casting director is going to watch 3 minutes max. You know what I mean? Like, how can you distill down this performance that was an hour and a half into something so small? It's tricky, you know. The idea of condensing down that story is really, it's an art.
It is.
It is very much
editing is an art, and I think editing is the third rewrite, and it's everything. Like, no matter what, like documentaries are a huge like part of like capturing the moment, and then it goes to the editor to tell the story. So it's definitely a post in documentary, whereas film is the other way. In demo reels, there's two types of demo reels. There's the actors that have done it all and up front load it with all the shows just mashed, and then they go into scene by scene, and then there's those who have never done anything, and it's more like, let's show the best emotions first real quick and then dive into small like short scenes and then end it real fast again. It's beginning, middle, and end. Everything is story. It's
really, really interesting. Well, but again, it comes back to, and what you said, and one of the things that I love that you said was, you know, first and foremost, you're a storyteller, and that is where it's at. Because if you're a camera person, if you are, and that's something that I think that any of the creative arts, if you are a singer, a songwriter, if you are a painter, at the end of the day, you're a storyteller. I was talking to some young filmmakers this morning, and they were like I was doing a workshop for a bunch of young kids who wanted to become YouTubers, right? And it was interesting, right? And I was like, why do you want to do it? I want to get rich and famous. I was like, across the board.
You'll be fine there.
Yeah, and I was like, good luck, you know. But it was fun because they were creative and they were motivated. But one of the things that was like an aha moment for all of them was when I taught them and showed them one thing, that in making YouTube videos, the core of what they were doing was different than what they thought. And I was like, well, what do you guys think you're doing? I'm trying to do this. And I said, if you're making YouTube videos, you're actually something different than you think. Like, well, what are we? I said, you're a teacher. You're an educator. You're sharing and giving information. And then when I framed it that way, I said, what information do you want to share? And like these kids had these aha moments where they're like, I want to show how I play the game. I want to help. And then suddenly they were able to craft a better narrative to their own story. You know, like one kid was like, well, I want to make these videos because his whole thing, he's like, I hate it when the noobs get killed early in this game. He's like, I try to get my friends to come and join the game, and they join the game, and they just get killed by these guys who are watching, 50 hours of gaming videos a week, who know every last trick. And he says it really sucks. And so he's like, and that was his thing. But like, he couldn't identify in the beginning why he was doing what he was doing. But once he was able to find his story, it was just, he was coming up with better narratives, even for, a 15-year-old kid doing a intro to filmmaking class. So it was really special to me like that you're a storyteller. When, any thoughts on that?
I mean, it all comes down to story, and that's the number one thing anyone and everyone will find at the end of the day. Whether you're a brand that has an amazing product, but a very bad way of presenting it to the world, be it in your then you're messed. And that just goes on to saying video content is king. Like, you might have a really good story in writing, you'll have a hard time finding people wanting to read nowadays. They'll just want to, watch something quick and leave. And if you got them, you got them. And in your story, you want to make sure you attract people and engage them with the words you choose, and do it wisely. And never think that you're reaching one niche. It's because if you got a heart, we're all the same, whether you're an investor or a consumer or a business. You can't really, you can niche into each business and create one-off videos for them. But if you're going to throw something in the web and hope something catches it, make a general story that creates empathy. Like the first Apple commercial, which that was just a story told without words. I mean, there were very few, if any,
But it was beautiful. Yeah. It was beautiful for that, I've reached out with my podcast. I've reached out to some brands that I really love, for music and film and different like different products. And it was interesting. The responses that I get sometimes are, I send the message and I'm like, hey, can I chat with someone about the story of your company? And people are like, we're a company. We don't talk about our story.
Yeah.
But you should. It's so cool. Like, you take a company like if we're looking at like a logo, one of the coolest logos for companies that I know of is Canon camera.
They have a cool one.
Why? And why? And everyone's like, Canon. It's like a shooting cannon. It's like, no. It comes from the Bodhisattva, the Buddha, Guan Am, or in China, Kuan Yin, and the Japanese version of that was Kanon. Kannon. And then so like the original Canon cameras actually had a logo of the woman Buddha sitting there.
Oh.
In like, it's crazy, right? People don't know that. And they think Canon as like the gun cannon, but it's not. It's actually named after a Buddha of compassion, which is just interesting to me,
Yeah.
And so the stories and histories of brands and companies is ridiculously interesting. Like Coca-Cola used to be an herbal drink. It was medicinal. Like it was, people were drinking it as a medicine. Yeah. That's wild.
I think the story is everything, honestly. Yeah.
Dude, seriously. Now, what is your story? How did you get into filmmaking?
Well, I started filmmaking back when I was like 10, 11 years old, when I discovered Video Copilot, just VFX. Andrew Kramer is the legend of teaching any teenager how to make any visual effects possible in After Effects. And so I started doing that. I couldn't speak English back then. And so that was the only thing I could do. And the more I learned English, the more I realized I want to tell stories behind these cool explosions that I'm doing. And then I went to...
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was huge undertaking to learn the language of filmmaking. But I went to a workshop in my teens at NIFA, New York Film Academy, over in LA. Started playing with the camera. It was just second nature, and then I just started making home videos with VFX, mainly stupid, cheesy teenager movies that tell really ridiculously unnecessary, redundant, like heartbreak stories, the things you have in your dreams, boy meets girl kind of stuff. And then I went to undergrad in filmmaking at the Art Institute of California, did film production there, and then I had a production company called Gearmark Pictures where we made Hollywood films for YouTube, where we created a bunch of videos. Nice. Was doing a lot of the stuff that I love to do, and I got to direct, edit, produce, do everything I love. And then after that, I left that company when I wanted to further my writing and my developing of dramatic storytelling, because I could do funny stuff, like that's easy. And then when I went into that, then I went to do masters at USC, which I was very surprised to get into, but I really appreciate you for letting me in. And then I did that, and pretty much graduated with 2 degrees in film. Learned that you don't need film degrees to make movies, but at the end of the day, they gave me the mentors I needed. Perhaps not the know-how of how to make movies, because that I did when I was a teenager. It did improve with better access to mentors. And the mentors and the social network is everything that I got from both my undergrad and grad school. I work with the same people and always will. It's a group of 30 plus people at this point, and And ever since then, I've been writing, producing, directing movies. And then when I went into the creative directing world of entertainment marketing, which is, you know, doing everything with Netflix and any kind of launch campaign for movies, that's where I really took my editing skills that I learned back when I was a teenager and really was able to use everything I learned as a director, a film director, a writer, and everything to go into editing in that same mentality. And oftentimes was able to figure out what the director of the film was trying to do and really translate it into 15-second videos, 30, 60-second trailers even, to help them really navigate their stories using everything I know to just do that one thing they need. Ego aside, I could care less if I'm the director. Give me a bad movie, I'll turn it into a good one in 15 seconds.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, but it's also at the same time, I'm doing my master's in screenwriting right now.
Awesome.
And so I love it. Yeah.
What?
No. It's because I'm in Vietnam. I found like the distance program I could. Yeah. So like from here, I have a school that my friend went to and got his master's in New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire. It's not a big name school at all, but they've got a great set of teachers and the entire program's online. And what they're really good at pacing you. And that's what I am really bad at, because I mean, like, I've got slammed. I'm behind on my assignments this week because we shot a music video yesterday. I edited it last night. I fixed it this morning. It's getting posted tomorrow morning. So it's like, it's busy. You know, it's crunch time type stuff, but they're just like really solidly supporting. But coming back to the program, like this semester, I've been focusing in on log lines, and I've always sucked at log lines. You know, the idea of like, how do you take this huge concept and put it into like 2 sentences?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the same thing as a trailer. You know what I mean? Like, how do you boil down this big thing and make it, you know, this really, you know, conceivable thing, you know, and still have that energy, still have that fire to it, you know?
I find it, I mean, number one, I commend you for going into writing. That's, commend is a good word. I bow down to you for going into writing. I think writing is one of the most frustrating, you know, crafts in the world. And that is, you hate yourself for 10 days and then it cracks in one day, right? Yeah. And because of my English insecurities throughout my life and going into USC, to kind of overcompensate for it, I really studied structure of story and the way beats work and the why we do everything and what's supposed to happen at which point to a point. And we had amazing teachers there too to help me. That I kind of wrote.
I'm sure, man.
We had like a Bible.
One of my goals is still to I love higher education. I love learning, and like I love learning to learn. Yeah. And like I still would love to do the master's in filmmaking at USC. So
they have some, you know, curricular activities like for summers that you can take. They're amazing. You don't have to even be a student at USC, I don't think. But I had to create for myself and for my well-being.
You got the beats? Yeah.
I created a Bible for screenwriting, and that would be what happens from your 8 sequences to what happens when you get a writer's block and everything. And to this day, Tiffany is by far the best writer I know. And she's not only my business partner, she's also my life partner. And the one reason I instantly fell in love with her is she was as or more talented than me in the craft that I love the most. And obviously there are so many more talented people than me, but that I've met in person, she was by far the one that challenged me the most. And I had to be with her versus against her in life. And so she has an amazing writer. Like the thing that she does best is I can write a script in 2 days, like a feature film in 2 days. But what she can do is write
when you feel it,
I just blow it out because I have my structure. I know like what needs to happen. I puke it out, where she crafts it like a painter, right? And it takes her then 2 months, and that's where she comes in to help me after I write it, right? She comes in. This English sucks, right? I'm like, the beats are right. That's what matters for me at this point. And with her, she's writing beautiful words, and I'm like, okay, this works, and let's look at the Bible. And then we're just like back and forth brainstorming. So, and Tiffany says it also best is she realized this year in writing her feature film, no matter, even if you're a single writer on your own, you always need a brain to throw ideas off.
You know, I swear by that. I have noticed that the best I've written, of all the stuff I've written, I've only done one script that I've done entirely on my own that turned out really well. And I think, and it was like, blah, you know, it's one of those things that I just kind of puked it out to. But for the most part, whether it be a short or a longer, you know, feature, the things that I write with other people turn out way better. They just do. And a part of it is because I'm challenged. Like, they challenge me to look at things a different way. But you have to really trust that other person.
Yeah. Trust is everything, honestly, yeah. And you have to also trust them not only to give you good ideas, but to be there after all the fighting is done, after all the brainstorm arguing is and the ego is aside. That's the trust, really, right? You trust them to have the best interest in this, and that when both of you are having a food break, both of you are still thinking about the story because you're that obsessed on it. And yeah, very personal. Yeah.
No, for sure. And I'm similar to you. My wife is you know, also one of the most talented people I know. And my wife is a famous singer here in Vietnam. And she was the first winner of Vietnam Idol. And so last night we were shooting one of her music videos, and it was a song. It's a beautiful song. And she was super motivated, and she just knocked it out. And I've been helping her record. So because of COVID, I had to do everything. Like, I'm capturing vocals here. I learned audio engineering just so I could record for my wife while all of this, like, for the last couple of years.
Damn.
Dude, you gotta hustle, man. You gotta hustle, right?
Yeah.
So, and so we were shooting it, and she looked up at me and she's like, "We need a fan. I need a fan blowing my hair." And I was like, at that moment, because I don't have a team right now. We're just coming out of a long lockdown, so I was doing every last job, and because we were not having people come into our house, luckily I have a green screen room, you know, like a room of backdrop set up for shooting, and I was setting it up in there, and I was doing everything, and I was like, God damn, I gotta get a fan.
Yeah,
gotta get one more thing, running my cameras, running a fan over here. But she was right. When I went into editing, the hair moving with the effect that we were going for made it. It made the shot. And, you know, and it was like, it took me being willing to listen, because I know I can trust her, and I know that she knows it, man. Yeah. She's smarter than me in a lot of ways. So it's
always
weird.
Are. Yep. We're just running.
But that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So oh, sorry, I interrupted. There's sometimes a tiny bit of lag, man, so I apologize. I don't mean to talk over.
No worries. You didn't interrupt. I was just agreeing with you. I was.
Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, bro, that's awesome. Now you have a couple different areas that you like to work on. You know, you have your company that does advertising, but it sounds like you're also still writing some feature type stuff. Are you doing both?
So Creative X Entertainment wasn't formed to so much serve one area of any industry. It's really a place where we bring in talent that knows what they want to do in life and are hungry and are obsessed to make it happen. Tiffany, for example, she only wants to make movies. She wants to do studio stuff. Therefore, Creative X Studios, you know, will be a thing. Like, that's more of an investment, as you know, oftentimes you have to be a waiter, you have to be in, like, most of actors, like, you always need a side job. And for Tiffany right now, the side job is Creative X Entertainment marketing while building the studio. And so Creative X Entertainment is very much the hub for us to be able to, for me to create all these branches, for Tiffany to create that one branch and lead it properly. But yeah, I think bottom line is we created this company or this kind of environment for when someone has an issue and needs help finding a solution to it. That's where we come in. Even if it's even if it's not digital, if someone comes to us and says, I need a flyer to be printed next week, I need 100 of them, we'll fix it for them. Whether it's something we sell on our website as a service or not, I want to help people tell their story. and I'm going to find a way.
Yeah.
Much like any film producer will find a contractor to build scaffolding to shoot from 100 foot off the ground. You, as a producer, you're not meant to, you know, build buildings, but you are building, you're building cities and producing. Yeah.
People ask me what I do as a producer, and I say 3 words: I get shit done.
Yep. Thanks.
And like, that's my motto, man. Like, you know, like when people ask, like, because I've worked in the similar type of field. Like, I did a ton of, when I was coming up in LA and I was doing the acting thing, it's a slog, man. Like, you put in hours, and so there's like, and there's lots of different like ceilings that you kind of run into. Hold on 1 second. My dog is getting sent in here. It looks like he was being naughty upstairs. My wife, you're in trouble, huh? You're doing,
is
doing all types of dumb stuff.
Is he like looking down with his tail in? Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. He's a sweetheart. You're a good boy. He's a naughty little boy. Don't let the looks fool you. He's trouble, man. But yeah, good times. But one of the things that you pointed out there is like, well, so when I was coming up, it's just, there's a lot of these different steps, and sometimes like you have to be a person who's willing to wear a lot of hats, you know, and you don't necessarily know where you're going to kind of make your angle in. And so you got to be ready to kind of hustle as because one of the things that I really like that you said, and I really like it because it's kind of the same thing I believe. Like when you were talking about your company, and you started talking about it, and all I could hear in my head was like building his empire. Like, you know, if you ever have a really good book, is reading Tyler Perry's story, and where he talks about how, man, he didn't know how he was going to get there, but he always had this vision. Yeah, you know, and his book it's a very, like, his book is very spiritually based with his own personal beliefs, you know. But I mean, but like, he had that vision of building his empire, and the whole time it was just every little step was kind of getting him there, you know. Yeah,
I think it is. I wouldn't call it in my empire. I really just want it to be the empire of the people in it, and that's just. Like, I want to be able to provide the opportunity that I didn't have when I started. And I want to be able to, you know, like my parents were self-starters. Tiffany's parents are self-starters. Aleko's parents are self-starters. And we want to help companies that know how to get them there, but just need that one last push for us to help them, like, tell their story. Like, you have a great product. You have a very bad website. You have something, people invested in it. So clearly they believe in you. Let us come and package you up and send you out to freedom and help us help you at the end of the day. And if it's a boring company but they have a lot of money, you oftentimes will never find us around them. We're not chasing money, we're chasing passion. Ideally that comes with money at the end of the day, but we just want to do the right thing. That's all.
There was this great, one of my favorite advertisements of late was a couple of years ago. It was a Casey Neistat video, and he did it, and it was actually a Samsung advertisement. And the whole video, it's just Casey Neistat being Casey Neistat, and they built this massive drone that starts hauling them around a ski park, like ski slopes, and they're just dragging them around this place on a snowboard. And it's just this cool video. And then the video finishes, and he goes flying off with all these lights on him. And all of a sudden, the logo slowly pops up, Samsung. And it's just like, damn, that was an advertisement? What? Yeah. That was ridiculously awesome. And then right there, my respect for that company just was like, damn, that's admirable. And it was a marketing video, but at the same time, it left me with this positive story, you know what I mean? And that was impressive, you know, like, because sometimes companies don't know their story, but they can also bridge to the story of people that they are sponsoring or they do work with. And I mean, and that's the genius of the sporting goods companies, man. Like, you know, maybe they don't have their own story, but they bring in the story of these athletes that work for them.
They allow athletes to have stories. Like, they provide the opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Totally agree. I think any company and those who need us most, those who need storytellers most are blue collar companies. Like, you have finance people, lawyers. While those videos are the most stereotypically like corporate, quote unquote videos, they don't have to be. You just have to trust filmmakers, and that's where filmmakers going into the marketing world can, I don't like using that word, but disrupt the way marketing is done, because the moment you have marketing anywhere, it's people run to the other side. And a lot of companies, and any company can have a good story if they just let storytellers come in and tell their story, or help them at least.
I think one of the best, and I think that we're entering this very like savvy time where people are getting not harder to reach, but people are getting more discerning.
Yeah.
And like you can see this on YouTube when you get that pop-up video, and how many people, I'm going to say 95% of the time, I go for the skip button.
Yeah.
But there are the occasional video that I'm just like, oh, wow, this surprised me, and it kind of hooks you in. And I think if more companies were taking that angle,
Yeah.
And I think the funniest video I had seen of late was this guy selling his own workout gear. Like, I was just like, it was like a fitness program, and I don't know how the algorithm thought that I needed to watch some. Maybe someone thinks I need to get back into shape or something. Maybe the algorithm gods are like, ah. But so, and this guy was like, right in the beginning of the video, he was like, Don't hit the button. I know you're going to do it. Don't do it. Just listen to me for 30 seconds. I promise it's worth your time. And I was just like cracking up because he knew, he's like, this is where it's going to go, And so I think that understanding of the market is so important too, in like how to keep people's attention. Because at the end of the day, whether it's an advertisement or a movie, your goal is to keep someone's attention.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is through good storytelling.
Amen. I mean, you're making me think about everything I need to change in some copy on my website now. But yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, nothing is going to be more thumb-stopping than you just seeing someone scream at camera as tears go down their eyes. But what company needs that, right? Like, so how do we scale back and do that, but in a more, branded way? But you just have to be unpredictable, really, because
I think that's it.
Everyone is always going to expect, to see something. I now just watch videos to figure out what they're doing wrong, and like I'm having a really hard time not pressing the skip button after like 15-30 seconds. And that's the issue. Even marketers, I wouldn't even call myself a marketer, even people who tell stories to sell stuff have a hard time watching other people's stuff, and that is the issue.
It was interesting that I think that it's one of the things that I thought was really interesting is living outside the U.S. too, is to see the way different countries do their marketing, do their TVCs, because like in one of the countries that just kills it with really good television commercials and advertising is Thailand.
Okay.
Thailand has really interesting. It's often comical. Yeah. And but often like very heart touching too. Like they really straddle this line. Yeah. And so during the pandemic, they had this one comedy / drama TVC, and it was about this old man and his workers, like, because when Thailand went into lockdown, everything was like mobile shippers, right? Yeah. And so this old man had a noodle shop in the middle of lockdown, and no one was coming. And so his workers were like broke, and it was a long commercial. I think it was like 6-7 minutes. And they show him going to the bank and trying to get a loan, and his workers see what he's doing, and they see that he's about ready to give up the deed for his house. And so they start selling stuff online. And while he's at the bank, they've just crushed it at his business, shipping stuff out. And then and then the TVC, it shows these workers just hustling, and it's super cinematic. Like they shoot like like these shots, and the noodles are like flying in the air, and I was just like, and my wife watched it, and it's like, it was one of the things too, like it's just like kind of a comedy, but like, man, I was feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm borderline a little bit emotional when they handed the old guy the money, and I was like, I know this is a commercial, but I also saw what people were going through outside. I saw how much people were getting slammed by the pandemic, and it really touched something, and I was like, bam, what a beautiful story,
It makes you trust the brand too. The brand is like, we put effort into making, like, we put money, not just money, and effort, and to tell our story and be able to help others, and that makes you want to back that brand.
And so what type of brand do you think it was that time? I'm gonna see if you could guess. What type of brand do you think it was?
I mean, you said it's a shipment company, no? I mean, I would.
It wasn't shipping. It wasn't shipping. I was wrong. It's something else. It was something else.
I mean, it's one of. It sounded like a company that allows you to send food. I mean, I'm assuming it's Uber.
It was actually a mobile. It was like like how we have Square in the US, so it was like a mobile payment app. So it was like one of the like point of sale, like point of sale stuff.
Oh, okay. I mean, I could see how they could do it, but they manage shipments now. See, I didn't know, and therefore, educating and helps people.
Yeah, exactly. And so, wow. Now, say a brand comes to you and they're like, hey, we hear you guys are great. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
Or we have an idea. This is who we are. Where do you start with the company? How do you start going and looking for stories with them?
It always comes down to, as I learned English, it's the WH questions, right? It's who, why, what, when. And we just start by asking, who are you? Why are you doing this? And what are your pain points right now? And once we figure these out, at that point, the world is our oyster. It's where we sit as a team. We bring Tiffany from the studio, and we bring Aleko from the just factual operations in, and then all of us together as a team, we kind of just craft a story for them, with them, because we would never want to lie to anyone or anything, but it would always be finding the heart in their company and the heart in their story, and then finding a way to not sound like they're selling anything. And I think a good example would be like the Earthos company we just did, right? Earthos they're pretty much just revolutionizing the solar industry by removing trackers as a whole. There's far more technology to it, but when an investor hears that, that's all they need to hear. It's cheaper, less land, more power, and speeds up the going green to the earth, right? That's all you need to know. But at the beginning, it was very much, we removed the trackers by doing this and this, and now that it's on the earth, it's facing the sun every time. And the moment like the story becomes really long and technical, right? But what we wanted to do is, let's just create a very slick story. Let's tell your story and just find the problems, tell the solution, and then create an emotional connection through visuals, through meeting the people behind the team. Oftentimes, I don't think every brand needs to see the team behind it. Like Nike, you don't need to see the CEO. You just need to tell the story of the people experiencing Nike. And we always ask the why. And if a company tells us we don't know, then we probably won't be able to move further, because if they don't know why, how are we supposed to know their why? And so I hope that helps. But oftentimes we'll find their pain points, be it their website, their digital content, their calendar, or anything and everything. And we just create a campaign that's very specific to them. And oftentimes we want to see them until we as a company just grow as a team as well. We don't want to just do one-off jobs. We find partners and we help them execute their stories. And even if we don't do it, we know we're producers. We'll bring them in, the people in, to make it happen. That's pretty much it.
Now, if you were to go back in time to a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself as you look to get into this career?
Um, I think is one being, always keep your head up, obviously, and start to be open to tangents in life, because and then trust whatever energies are out there, and that they will guide you to where you want to be. Learn how to say no, but also say yes 99% of the time, because as long as it makes sense to you, like, for example, I would have never taken an editing job if my ego had been high to be a director, right? Because I was I just want to help people solve problems. So whether I'm a director and that's all I want to be, if someone comes to me and says, look, I need an editor, I need to tell this story, I'm like, I'll be there. I'll come in as a director wearing an editor's hat. And the bottom line is, feel free to take tangents in life, because at the end of the day, in some weird, odd way, it will turn around and give you what you need. And that's what I would tell myself as a young person. It's keep your head up and be open to tangents in life. It's just like snakes and ladders. You know what I mean? It's just like it goes up and you're gonna climb, and trust yourself.
There's that little like cartoon, not a cartoon, the infographic looking thing, and it's like what people think success looks like, and it's a straight line. Yeah. And they're like, what success really looks like, and it's this swirly line that eventually goes the direction you want to go.
Yeah, and so never look back. It's pointless to look back, and it's like you're on a highway. You have a destination. You just got to swerve around the cars as needed, based on if there's a crash, you stop for a bit. That's fine. It happens. You know what I mean? And every day is going to be your lowest, but you can make it your highest peak. Just because you failed doesn't mean you haven't grown. And I wish I had known that, agree. But I did early, thankfully.
There's a great book called Barking Up the Wrong Tree with Eric Barker. Do you know that book?
I know Eric Barker, yeah. That's... I've never read. I listen to books, but I'm gonna add it to my list.
Okay. He's got an audiobook. It's phenomenal.
Awesome.
And so there's an audiobook it's on Audible, I think. But one of the big things he talks about is the whole book's on success. And so there's this great thing that he said, that there was this one guy in the Silicon Valley, and he was extremely successful, and like they would ask him what his secret was. And the guy was just this master networker, and he wasn't trying to do anything. But anytime he met someone, he would try to connect them to someone else that could be of use to them, or not. But it wasn't like done in a way where he was trying to get something. He just was all about connecting people. Like that was his thing. Yeah. And what they found is like, and one of the things that he points out is like, if you want to be successful, one of the things that you can do is to go out and network. But like, people see through that, right? And so what you have to do is literally just like what you said, if someone needs help, you help them, because right there you've created this connection that is organic and real that will come back at some point in time,
Yeah. No, I fully agree with you. I think being open to everything and letting go of ego.
It's so important, right? Which is tough.
It's very tough. I still feel at it every day. Even if you were to tell me, Roy, you made it, I would say, no, I haven't. I always will have to wake up in the morning, sleep 4 to 6 hours a day, do one exercise, 1 hour of exercise a day, but I will always want to look at this one wall that I'm looking at, and that's my peace zone. That might be workaholism, which is another level that I could, reduce from, but I will, even if you were to tell me, Roy, you have $500 billion in the bank, take a day off, I'll say, no, there's a client that's paying us $100 a day that I promised I'll help. And I want to work, and I love doing this, and that's why I do this. So even if you told me I succeeded or failed, if I'm here, I'm at peace.
Right?
Yeah.
My grandpa was like one of those guys. He was a dentist, and he worked until he was 95.
Badass.
And I'm just like, that's right. I was like, I love that. And I interviewed my friend Andrew, and he's a DOP in Hollywood, and he was like talking about, I was like, so what is your next steps? He's like, well, some people are already asking me when I'm retiring. And he's like, I have no plan. And he's like, I've got no plan of retiring, because he's like, I love this. I love what I'm doing. I was like, why would I retire? He's like, I just finished James Bond. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, how cool is that, right? He's like, it's freaking awesome, you know? And so, yeah. So I feel you, man.
It's hard to find people, and that's like the number one thing that I think the corporate world perhaps will, like, I haven't seen at least. Everyone works 9 to 5 outside of America. Most people, that's an assumption I have. Obviously, there's China. That's, you know, what I'm saying is there's a mentality in the film industry specifically that is, if someone says you're going to work a 16-hour day, which is wrong, you know, obviously with everything going on, you'll do it. Especially as a student filmmaker, it's like we're all sick in the head, and we're all crazy to do this industry to begin with, and we love doing it. So when someone asks me if I want to retire, it's like someone telling me, "Hey, it's time to go to bed. Put the video game down." No, you can't tell me what to do, and I'm not going to retire, and I'm going to keep telling stories, whether you want me to or not. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Well, and when you once you catch the bug for it, like once you get it, man, it's like we shot this music video yesterday, and our 5-year-old daughter was with us, and my wife's like, should we send her up? And I was like, let's let her stick around. I want her to see. And so I was like, Ilani, I want you to see something. I was like, you get to be the director today. So you're going to do something fun for me. I want you to yell action, and you get to yell cut. And so she and then she also had the slate. So she's running out slating, and then she's like, all right, action. And then I was like, hold on, Daddy's not. She's like, action, Daddy. I was like, sorry.
Yeah.
Got really bossy, but yeah, I gave her first director credit yesterday. So it's pretty awesome. But I mean, she was into it. My point being, like, dude, yeah, man, if you love this, you love it. And like today, my daughter was like, Daddy, when are we doing our next video? And I was like,
there it is. She caught it.
That's it, man. I mean, she caught it.
She doesn't end up being that. I think Tiffany has a great saying. It's we live the life of doctors, but we're not saving lives. Like, we do the exact same hours of doctors.
Yeah.
Only thing is, we're not saving lives, but we are saving lives in different ways, right? It's storytelling and
give people hope, man. Yeah,
exactly. I think I want to point. Obviously, the overworking hours is not always healthy.
Not okay.
It's not healthy. We're aware of it, and it's important to take a break and to treat your body, because we want to do it forever, and we can't do it forever if we don't treat ourselves. But at the end of the day, it's something that we always get stuck into, not because ideally no one forces us to. I always worked overtime and never knew to charge it, because I was like, I stayed because I wanted to. You leave me alone. Let me do my thing.
Yeah.
You allowed me to.
I was up till 2 a.m. last night editing that music video, man. Why? Because I was feeling it. Yeah, that's the thing, though. People don't understand, too. Like, but I think the doctors would, because like when a doctor gets a patient, they can't just be like, all right, that's it, I'm out.
It's like, yo, you had a heart attack. Sorry, I just hit 5. Yeah, I'm out.
I'll see you guys.
Overtime? Okay, I'll stay. Yeah.
Check back tomorrow, you know? It's like, no, man. You feel it and you get into it. Like I was feeling it. I knew the vision I had, and I wanted to sit down when it was quiet and dive in. And I edited it, and in 3 hours, I put the whole video together, and it was exactly what I was looking for. If I had have waited till this morning, it might not have been there, or there might have been like a different flow, So,
but I fully agree with you. I mean, but you working until 2 a.m. would have been nice if you had done that while on union, right? And rightfully so, you're fought for by someone else. But as a passionate filmmaker, it's very hard to keep track on, hey, I've done this before. I've spent hundreds of thousands on education for this. I should be paid for this. And so therefore a union.
Exactly.
It's also hard to get into union as a freelance filmmaker who's sick in the head to work until 5 a.m. It's such a tough industry, and it's a life we chose.
And it is. And I think, though, but that's where that advice of the tangents is really profound, because it doesn't always look the way you think it's going to.
No, it never does,
No, you have these visions like it's going to go like this, and then it goes like this, but this is way better, but you couldn't even picture that.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think
Now,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, I think for a glimpse of my life, I was sure I was going to rise up in a company that was giving me, a pay that I was okay with. It's helped me save money for a wedding. And at one point during the pandemic, I was like, I don't see it. I need to grow every day. And if I don't grow every day, like, my passion's out. And the moment I was told, it may take longer, I was like, I gotta leave. I'm gonna start my own thing and throw everything in there, and hopefully something happens. And obviously every day is a challenge. We learn, we fail, we grow, and no matter what, we celebrate each day despite the hardships.
Yeah.
And it's important. Those tangents are very important because sometimes they'll wake you up as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now imagine that you have like Aladdin's lamp. What would you wish for?
Financial freedom, so I could do the same thing I'm doing right now without worrying about the money, if that makes sense. I want to really be able to
100% makes sense.
I just want to be able to help. And, if I have the money to, then I don't have to have the negotiation about the money. Then I can say, don't worry about it. Just trust me. Because I want to direct your brand. I want to be needed to help you. And ideally, I'm talented enough where I have the team that can do this, that can help you do it. And if I had that lamp, I would say, give me financial freedom. Let me not worry about the money. And then let me just go out and help. So then we can start charities, we can start different branches, we can start educating, we can grow some kind of a hub that allows people to grow themselves as well. That's what I would ask for. And I would not ask a speeding ticket to success. No, I need this journey.
I feel you, man.
Yeah.
I like that too. I think that, every single trial that we get makes us kind of who we are. But that being said, it sure as hell would be nice to have that financial kind of weight lifted so that you could just have the space to be creative. Yeah. So I think that's a worthy wish, man.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you still need to struggle financially in life to be able to appreciate what money means, or at least open up to the understanding of what a dollar means to you versus what it means to others, and try to empathize with what it means to others, because then it might make you spend it otherwise. And that's financial. Yeah.
I think 100%. And, it reminds me of like, it was one of these things that they said modern kids are growing up in almost too clean of an environment. Yeah. Like they said that like some of the immune systems of kids these days are not getting challenged enough, because if you don't have, our bodies are made to struggle. And like, look at weightlifting, if you want to be big, you have to almost essentially torture your body.
You have to rip your body to teach apart. You have to rip your muscles to have them grow. Yeah, it's no pain, no gain. That's how it is.
No pain, no gain, man.
Yeah,
that's a great movie too.
Oh yeah,
what was that? Mark Wahlberg and Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, it's Michael Bay's movie. Yeah, it's so.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Hold on.
If you had, what's one of your inspiring movies?
What
do you turn to?
The movie that made me want to tell stories versus VFX is not the best movie there is to be proud of that made you who you are, and that is Remember Me, starring Robert Pattinson. It just made me cry so much at the end that I was like, and then I had to bring one friend at a time over to watch the movie and cry at the end. The whole movie, I couldn't tell you what it's about. I can tell you what the ending made me feel back when I didn't know English. It made me cry. And seeing each person cry, I was like, I want to make people cry one day. And I really get inspired to make people feel connected to something that is fake. Or perhaps the movie might be fake, but it makes them want to do something different that day. And really, I just want to move a needle in people, just like that one movie moved in me that day with that. The over crying that I did, it was like I was howling like a dog. It was sad, and I was very young, so that was inspiring to me. And then obviously I wouldn't say there's a movie that inspires me, but I'll say there's a lot of filmmakers that inspire me. People who know how to craft stories and knee slapping, annoying me when I watch their movies, because I'm like, they did it good, and I want to do that, and so I admire everyone that is far more knowledgeable than me and more experienced than me, and I appreciate them for allowing me to steal from them or be able to relabel it in my way. And so that's what inspires me. People who are 10 times better than me, because there's far more than those than anything. I'm always looking to grow.
Right. Well, I think that's an admirable thing to aspire to, man. I think if any of us can look to grow and become better at what we do, it's a good foundation. It's a good start.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say, man, I've really appreciated this time talking with you.
I appreciate it.
And yeah, you're always welcome to come back if you have anything you want to share or any projects that you'd like to really talk about, man. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I look forward to it, and I appreciate your time. I hope I didn't bore everyone.
No, I'm sure people were sitting there. I mean, you dropped some wisdom bombs today, man. For
I
sure.
don't have wisdom. I have yet to learn it. I promise you. Not there yet.
Well, I think what was it? There was a great quote in the Tao Te Ching, which is like the Taoist text written by Lao Tzu, and it says the wise man thinks the foolish man thinks he knows everything. The wise man knows he knows nothing. So I think you got a good start there.
I know nothing. How's that?
It's either that or you're Jon Snow, right?